To Inside the Film Room, I'm Kristen Urkel alongside head football coach Will Healy. The Governors defeat Eastern Kentucky in a fourth quarter comeback to secure a winning season and stay in the race for the NCAA playoffs. Coach, you've now had some time to let it sink in. What did you learn about your team that fought back from a 17-point deficit?
It's amazing how this team has been able to find so many different ways to win games. You go into halftime and you're not really playing great. I think we, as a staff, knew how talented Eastern Kentucky was and knew that they would present a lot of problems. I was worried about the game just because I know how talented they are and I know how well coached they are. And they jumped on us early. And, for us to be able to come in, regroup at halftime, they make a play at the end of the first half to make it 21-7. You're really going into halftime with no momentum whatsoever. You get the ball back on the first drive of the second half, and we try to fake a punt. It was a bad call on my part, and they stop you. So they got 1st and 10 on the 32-yard line going in with the chance to make it, a 21-point game. Held them to a field goal, score a touchdown, and then it was over. And just to watch our kids' belief, their energy, how much fun they had playing football, even down 10 points, you could just feel the difference in momentum on the sideline. And just so proud of how they kept fighting, how much energy they play with, how they play the game, and what type of kids we have. It's like a fairy tale watching them every Saturday, and just very lucky to be a part of it.
The second half of the ball game, the Governor offense hit their stride, trailing 24-7. The Governor scored 24 unanswered points. What do you attribute that momentum to?
Well, I think that as the game goes on, I think Chris Laskowski and what his staff does makes this a little bit more difficult to beat. I think we wore on them a little bit. I think, not only were we, I felt like mentally tough enough to overcome that, but I thought we were physically enough to overcome the deficit that we'd put ourselves in. So I think that we stuck with our game plan and made good adjustments as well. I think our staff does a phenomenal job on Saturdays in making sure that we understand how teams are trying to attack us, and we regroup and make some corrections. But we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot as much in the second half as what we did in the first half. We were able to create some big plays. I thought we blocked well in all areas, whether it was offensive line, whether it was wideouts, running backs, the whole group. And then we took some shots down the field. We opened it up a little bit in the second half. Tiny made some big-time plays. DJ Montgomery made some big-time plays. Jeremiah threw the ball really well. When you throw it and you complete 11 passes for over 200 yards, you're being very efficient when you catch the football. I thought some of it was catch and carry, and I thought some of it were great throws and on-the-mark throws by Jeremiah. So proud of how we executed offensively, especially in the second half.
Defensively, your group held the Colonels to only 68 yards in the second half, sealed the game with an interception. When you watched the film, what stood out to you? Well,
one, how talented they are on offense. I thought their quarterback was exceptional. They got great weapons at wideout. Their backs are really good players. So it was a tough matchup for us. You're playing a lot of young kids on that field on Saturday, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that are going against some really, really good players in this league. And I thought we just kind of settled in and started making some plays with the ball in the air. We never panicked, and we played with a lot of energy in the second half, especially on defense. We rallied to the ball. We created the one turnover with the interception at the end of the game by Kiavis, which was huge. We missed a couple others that I felt like that we could have, expanded that margin a little bit more. But just so proud of how our defense responded after the first half, getting it taken to us a little bit.
The game's at 24-21. Take us back to your decision to send a freshman kicker, Cole Phillips, out to potentially tie the game.
Well, you watch the ball slip out of Jeremiah's hands, and you go from possibly thinking about going for it, to now we're on the edge of field goal range. It's a 42-yarder, and obviously Cole has not kicked a whole lot for us this week. I think Max Sermon does a phenomenal job of having a game plan going in with this is what we're going to do in these situations. The plan was Logan's going to kick extra points and Cole will kick field goals. He'd been doing a great job in practice. We had a lot of confidence in him. And for him to go out and execute, unbelievable hold by Javon, to get the ball down, and then Cole coming up in that pressure-packed situation was huge because you've got all the momentum in the world on your side. It's 24-21. You start to lose a little bit of momentum when the ball slips out of Jeremiah's hand. And then, if you miss a thing, now they've got the momentum back on their side. For us to be able to capitalize and get points there was enormous, and we never looked back.
Prior to Saturday, Austin Peay had not won at EKU in 40 years. The 31 points was the most scored on the Colonels in program history. That victory gave you a 4-0 record on the road in the OVC this season. What goes through your head when you hear stats like that?
This will be really fun to be able to look back on and enjoy when we finish this run. Right now, you just you grin, you're proud, you're just ecstatic for these kids and these group of assistant coaches and administration, really this whole community, but you just don't want it to end. And we'd lost like 45 of the last 49 games versus Eastern Kentucky, and they've got an extremely storied program, and I think they're really talented and really well coached. And when you give a team like that who hasn't had as much success as what they would have liked this season, reasons to be excited and reasons to have confidence, it makes them extra scary. And we did that. In the first half, they played great. They outplayed us. And for us to still be able to come back and as many things as didn't go our way and come back and find a way to win that game on the road says a lot about our football team. But these kids are just amazing to watch and be around. And it's just a special group. I don't know if you could ever replicate what's happened these last 3 months, and it's been as much fun as I've ever had in the profession.
It absolutely is. Coming up is the Fuse Fireworks Assistant Coaches Corner. We go one-on-one with Chris Laskowski. Welcome back. It's the Fuse Fireworks Assistant Coaches Corner. I'm with Director of Sports Performance, Chris Laskowski. Let's take a walk down memory lane. You are a Hall of Famer linebacker at Florida Atlantic University. You started as a walk-on, worked your way all the way to a 2-time team MVP. How has that personal testimony of hard work impacted the way you train athletes today?
Well, we bring our experience every day with us, to whomever we're impacting, whoever we're coaching. So to me, it's become, being who I was as a person that felt like I needed to prove myself, every day, and maybe, from a spirit perspective, wanting to put myself in a position where I wasn't as desired. You had some Division II, some NAIA type scholarship offers coming out of high school. I felt like I was a bigger time player. I wanted to challenge myself, and so I think that chip on your shoulder, emanated into my daily behavior in college. And once you earn a scholarship, you become okay. You're part of a program now. You're part of the institution. You're part of the scholarship pool. But when you start from a walk-on, I think once a walk-on, always a walk-on kind of mentality. And the coaches I've been around throughout my entire life, starting with my father, going into my college days with Coach Howard Schnellenberger and Kirk Hoza as a defensive coordinator, Kurt Van Valkenburg as a linebackers coach. These guys were, okay, you achieve one goal, now what? The hashtag now what thing now. So, you want to be a scholarship player, great, you've achieved that now, what's the next, mountain? You see the plateau, now you see the next mountain. Once you're onto that ridge, you can see what's out beyond that now. So I've been blessed to be around some really humble blue collar type coaches. And so, for me, it's so woven into my fabric that, because I can't and I don't become complacent, I think it's perhaps a little easier for the kids, to adopt that. I think they say the kids take on the personality of the coaches in charge and in leadership positions. So I think because it's so much a part of my fabric, yesterday's heroes are soon forgotten. I was told that a long time ago. I think that's a very large statement that's kind of behind my psychology, I guess.
And now you're here at Austin Peay. This season we have a brand new weight room. What does that mean to the players, and how has it improved their overall performance?
I think number one, from a structure standpoint, day-to-day operations. We have a football complex essentially, and the kids have a locker room and a weight room that's about 50 yards away. And so where they change, where they they do their field work. We have their locker room, you have your weight room. It's all in one area. The coaches are now meeting upstairs in the suite levels and things like that. So to me, from a structure standpoint, it's changed everything. When we first got here, we were training out of a great facility down in the Dunn Center, but a small facility, and it's more kind of conducive for your smaller court sports, basketballs and things of that nature. And we were trying to transition from field to weight room to locker room and things like that, and it was cumbersome. So from structurally, it's really evolved our practice. And then, number two, from an implementation standpoint of our philosophy of training, which, I guess suffice to say, you could say different things, but I'm a movement guy. I like quality of movement first, and then load the movement. Whether that's a sled when you're pulling, from a running standpoint, or loading a back squat. I want quality movement first, and so we'll start on the field in our off-season program, whether it's the spring or the summertime. We'll start in the field setting, and so moving from the field to the weight room when it's all in the same places, it just makes it, so much more, functional to perform. So that's revolutionized really the way we train. Not to mention the size. I mean, the kids are in a state-of-the-art, Sorinex racks and play flooring and Integ bumpers and dumbbells. I mean, the place is awesome. We spared no expense on the equipment that we have. So,
anyone we've talked to names you as one of the biggest reasons this team is winning. What are some of the biggest changes you've implemented?
So, number one, psychological, right? So the idea of ownership, the idea of being a player-led team, it sounds good, but how do you implement that? And so, to me, it's a macro cycle challenge, and it has to be year-round. And so, number one, what when we all first got here, Coach Healy was, and they were here 6 months before I was, we realized that if you want to compete in Division I football, or really any levels of football, you have to train year-round. And that just wasn't happening prior to our arrival for many different reasons, to nobody's fault directly, but it just wasn't happening. So we realized that we need to buy into the idea that we're going to train year-round. And it can't be something that you're forced to do. It has something you have to buy into, that this is why we're doing it, because we want to be successful. So the if-then mentality, like, if I do this, then I have the opportunity to be successful in this endeavor. And so just from a day-to-day operations, small meetings, small group sessions, longer group sessions, after the session's over, let's remind ourselves, okay, why are you doing this, set of 5 on a back squat, or this, this 12 reps on a speed sled today? Is it because I'm forcing you to do it? Or is it because we've set a table and told you, this is the plan, and this is why we're doing it? And so you buy into it, you take ownership of this as being part of your successful, path. So that's something that I'm big on, and it's not an easy thing to accomplish, but it takes, consistent effort. So being a player-led team is something that I've, really worked hard to establish. And then, like I said before, the field work, we play football on the field. We don't play football in a squat rack. So we're going to start our training sessions in the off seasons with speed development, change of direction work, a lot of, long, flex periods where the kids are practicing, simple movements on a daily basis. And so, we're big on quality movement first, and then we'll load it afterwards.
I don't have long, but I have to know, when did you know this team was mentally bought in?
2 points. Number one, coming out of winter break last year, we had an optional week that we communicated to the team. You can come back early if you want to, and we didn't know what the attendance was going to be like. And Monday morning, we had 60 guys that were ready to rock and roll. We didn't have a chance to feed them. The cafeteria wasn't open. That was a good sign. And then number two, in the spring and the summertime, we set up player-led practices. And I was a part of FAU's team back in the early 2000s. They want us to go down and watch a Jonathan Vilma-led Miami team and how they practiced on their own. And so we learned that, and I implemented that at FAU as a leader on the team. And seeing that start to blossom, where I could sit back in a player-led 7-on-7 or team and watch these kids compete with each other without coaches around, I mean, I knew something was special was brewing. And a lot of the coaches weren't around at that time, so I'm like telling them, and they're saying, "It sounds good, Chris." I'm telling you now, expect something special this year. I mean, this could be an awesome year.
Love it. Coming up, the Bojangles Player Spotlight. This week, it's Jeremiah Oates' fault. Welcome back to the Bojangles Player Spotlight. I'm sitting next to Jeremiah Oatsfall, quarterback. What a day for you. You're trailing 24-7 in the third quarter. You engineer a comeback that Gov faithful will be talking about for years to come. Describe what goes through your head when you're having to create that momentum.
I mean, I think you got to let the team know that they can't get it back in one play. You can't get it back in one drive, and you just got to look at it one play and one drive at a time. I think that's what we did. The defense played unbelievable. You got to give them credit for the job they did in the second half. I think it held them to 60 yards or so. And so just being able to have the confidence in your defense, knowing they're going to get a stop and we're going to go get a score was huge. And we played, on a string. First half we were kind of, up and down, but the second half we played on a string together, and we got stops and we got scores. And I think that's what led to the momentum and just led us to a victory.
You're known for making something out of nothing. You want the ball when the game is on the line. Where does this confidence come from?
I think it's just been playing the position long enough and been in a lot of close games toward the end throughout my whole high school career. We've been in a lot of game-winning drives, having to keep a lead, having to come back from a deficit. So I think just those experiences just all led up. And I remember the Miami of Ohio game earlier in the year. It was a good experience. We lost and we had a chance to come back late and we didn't. And being able to correct those situations and knowing that when we have an opportunity like that, you can't let it slip because those times don't come around too often. And then when we were down 17, just being able to lead the team just the right way and trusting the coaches and their game plan and never going away from it was big. I think just the experience of playing in a lot of close games was really led and helped me lead the team.
Let's go back to 2016. You're a top recruit coming out of Brentwood High School. You've won a state title. You shock the world, commit to Austin Peay. You win another state title. You create this buzz around the program. Start helping these coaches recruit, basically. Why did you do that?
I honestly didn't know that the players could be even more recruiters than the coaches themselves. And when I committed, I knew something was going on special here. The coaches just were something unbelievable. They believed in me. They believed in this program before they even had a W. And so just being able to help recruit this class and knowing that, these players connect with players a lot. And so being able to reach out to different guys, I specifically remember Trey Pruitt in general, just me and him connecting and sending out a lot of messages, and he was kind of up and down. And then after the Tech game, and me and him had talked at a previous camp, and we were just like, this is where we want to be, this is what we want to do, and help rebuild this program. So I think that's what it was, just being able to see something that a lot of people didn't see, and knowing and having the season that we're having, it's crazy because people can really understand this is what we saw before it even was possible.
Pretty special. You play with a fire, yet you're calm under pressure. You're 18. You're already inspiring your fellow teammates, young people reading and watching this Austin Peay story. Who inspires you?
I think it's my family. Knowing my mom and dad, their upbringing was kind of tough. And, my dad didn't have a father. And so just being able to play for him and play for my family and my parents is probably my inspiration. They sacrificed so much for me and just put me in the best school and the best education, the best sports teams I could be on. And so just being able to give back and show them that, all their hard work that they've put in is not going to waste, and just trying to make them proud.
Now, you're great on the field, but you have another talent, magic. You and Chuck have been making waves with your magic show. How did this start?
It started, my dad kind of showed me some of his stuff that he did back when he was in college. And it was probably my 7th or 8th grade year. I can't remember exactly. And I kind of, as a young kid, you always look up to your dad. I still do. But it's like, if he can do it, I want to do it. And so he started showing me some stuff. And so I really wanted to get into it. And so I did a lot my 7th and 8th grade year. And then kind of didn't pick it up a lot my freshman through junior year. And then senior year, the David Blaine Netflix series came out. And he's a really famous magician. And I was like, I remember doing some of this stuff, and I can do a little bit of it, so let me just pick it back up, see if I still got it. And I still had to do some stuff, and I looked up some videos, and then I just really got good with it, and I really started enjoying it. And just to see people's reactions when you do something that's kind of simple just with your hands is unbelievable. And so I love doing it. I just kept doing it, and I brought it here. And over the summer, when you're just working out and playing football, nobody's on campus, you got to find some time to do something. So I just showed some of my friends that I could do some magic tricks, And then I guess somebody told somebody else, and then now we're here doing magic tricks on the show with Big Chuck.
They've been blown away. Now, this past June, you went overseas on a mission trip. By looking at your social media accounts, this isn't your first one. Where did you go, and why do you choose to spend so much time there?
I go between Honduras and Uganda, but the past 2 summers I've went to Uganda. And I first went when I was in 5th grade to pick up my brother and sister from Africa, and being from a very wealthy neighborhood and a wealthy state, it's just then going to Africa where there's people live on less than $1 a day is unbelievable, and it really changed the way I think about things and the way I view life. And so every summer since then I've gone back to either Uganda or Honduras, and the last 2 summers I went back to Uganda, and we go with an organization that my mom and her best friend started called 147 Million Orphans, and we just go there and serve, and we just pour out for 10 to 12 days, and these kids that once a year, this is like their Christmas. So I mean, it's awesome. I think they bless us more than we bless them, so it's just been an honor to go each summer and just step away from reality and just get away and get off social media, get off all the worldly stuff that your mind can just be wrapped up with here, and just go there and just let it all out and see those kids and put a smile on their face.
Have you ever done your magic out there?
I actually have. We brought, on long plane rides and long trips, you always got to bring cards with you just to play games, and I was still doing my tricks then, and so I brought it to them, and it's just, I didn't think that they would understand it fully at first, and then when I went there and I started showing them some stuff, kids would just come from everywhere just wanting to see it, and because they'd never seen anything like it before. So it was just awesome being able to do it to them and make their day.
Awesome. Coming up, the Nova Copy pregame analysis. Coach Healy previews Eastern Illinois. Stay with us. We're back on Inside the Film Room. It's the Nova Copy pregame analysis. Before we talk Eastern Illinois, I have to ask you about Jeremiah Oatsfall. I feel like we are just seeing the beginning of what's to come. How has this true freshman impacted this unit from recruiting to games right now?
Well, recruiting, he was huge because, he was a big name in the Middle Tennessee area that had a lot of high school accolades and a lot of success. A winning program, a dual sport athlete and a really highly touted recruit coming out of high school. So that was huge for us for the recruiting class we had. We've been very confident in his ability for a long time. I've been fortunate enough to watch him compete in numerous different sports for a while now, and he just has a confidence about him. He has an innate leadership ability. He's got a tremendous work ethic. Good things happen when he has the ball in his hands, and there's been no situation that's been too big for him, and I think the kids have really rallied around him. I think we're in a unique situation, especially in FCS football, where we have 3 tremendous quarterbacks that are all capable of winning football games in our league. And I got to give credit to the other 2 as well, because I think they've handled the situation extremely well. They've competed very well, and we feel confident in what they could do if we needed them. And, obviously we're excited about what Jeremiah's been able to do for our offense, and we feel like the future of this program with all 3 of those quarterbacks is very bright.
You have to be proud he's picked up a couple awards this week.
Yeah, Ovc Newcomer of the Week, which seems to have his name written all over it. And he was Ovc Offensive Player of the Week, too. So it's really fun when our kids can be recognized, especially in this great conference, and Jeremiah deserved it.
Now, Eastern Illinois is sitting right behind you in the conference standings. 2 weeks ago, they defeated EKU in OT and were off last week. What can you expect from the Panthers?
I've got a lot of respect for how they do things. I think Coach Damon does a fantastic job. He's been really good to me in this profession too. I think he's a great person. His kids play extremely hard. There's some similarities offensively and defensively. I think there's also a lot of similarities with both teams have won really close games. I mean, you look at them, they've won 3 games in overtime and 3 other games by 3 points or less. And that's what good football teams do. They find ways to win games, and especially in a really good league. I think they play really hard. I think they've got tremendous weapons. It'll be a really tough game for us. I think the running back, who's from Clarksville, is a tremendous player and has had a really good year. They're playing two different quarterbacks. They got two wideouts that I think are as good as anybody in the league. I think they're really good up front on their offensive line. Defensively, they rush the passer extremely well. They are physical and play really hard on their defensive front. Linebackers move well. Secondary, they got some guys that are all-conference type performers. So it's going to be a really tough game. But I'm sure Coach Dameron feels the exact same way. For us to have an opportunity, both programs, to play in a game that means so much in late November is a big deal. And we look forward to competing against them. I know our work is cut out for us, and we got to have a great week to have a shot.
What will the Governors have to do to seal a victory and put yourself in position for playoff?
Well, when you play really disciplined teams like EIU, you can't turn the ball over. Again, our recipe for success continues, but we got to make sure and win the special teams battle in close games. That's going to show up. We have to tackle well, especially with their running back and their wideouts. I think they do a tremendous job of getting yards after the catch or contact. I think we got to rush the passer and try to make them one-dimensional. And then I think our young guys have to make sure and play with a lot of confidence when we put them on islands out there in one-on-one opportunities. We've got to establish the line of scrimmage on offense, run the football, and then play action pass, take some shots, and win one-on-one matchups out there as well. So our recipe doesn't change. We've got to play with more energy, passion, and enthusiasm than anybody in the country this week. We have to have a tremendous week of preparation, and we got to start faster than what we did last week. We can't dig ourselves in a hole against a great football team like EIU, and we got to play 60 minutes of great football.
Saturday will be Senior Day. What a transition this group has seen. What can you say about these seniors?
Special group. They've been through a lot, and there's so many of them that you just – Saturdays are complete for me when they have an opportunity to enjoy success as an Austin Peay football player. So many of those kids, in my opinion, have changed the way of thinking, changed the lifestyle, changed how they handle adversity, and they're going to be ultra successful whenever they leave here. But it means so much to me that they believed in us enough to come back, give it another shot. And there's some great kids that the last staff did a tremendous job of recruiting that have been tremendous playmakers. But I can't wait to watch their success as they leave here, because they are some of the best people I've been around as well.
Governor fans, get loud and pack it out. Gov Walk is at 1:30. Kickoff is at 4 o'clock in Forterra Stadium. It's Senior Day, as we said, and Military Appreciation Day. Free admission has been made available for all current and former military with ID, courtesy of retired CW4 Joe and Andrea Maynard. For more information, call 931-221-7329. As always, for post-game, head over to our social media sites at Let's Go Peay. Thank you so much for watching Inside the Film Room with Coach Will Healy. I'm Chris Nergal. We'll see you next time.